This is The Comics Alternative, episode 283, a look at the June Previews catalog. Hello and welcome to another episode of The Comics Alternative. I'm Derek.
And I'm Paul, and we're two guys with PhDs talking about comics.
And on this episode, we discuss the items in the June Previews catalog. But before we get to that discussion, I want to let all of you know that this episode of The Comics Alternative is brought to you by the great folks at Discount Comic Book Service. Go to their website, dcbservice.com, for all of your comics pre-ordering needs. There, you're going to find all DC, Marvel, Image, and Dark Horse titles at 40% off of the cover price. For all of the other publishers, you'll find those discounts are anywhere from 20 to 35% off. And every month, you'll find incredible specials. Sometimes those specials are at 45% off cover price, sometimes 50% off cover, but every now and again, you can find more impressive discounts than that.
Yep. One of the great ways to take advantage of DCBS discounts is to check out the bundles that they offer month after month after month. It seems like there's always great bundles. It never stops. For instance, this month, there's just a bountiful amount of DC.
A plethora, if you will.
A plethora, a cornucopia of DC bundles that you can see. There's the new Jinx World bundle, which is part of Brian Michael Bendis's, little piece of DC, the DC world. There's the DC Young Animal bundle. There's the DC Sandman bundle. And those are at 50% off or 45% off. Tremendous deals. There's Marvel bundles. There's Valiant bundles. All kinds of great discounts that you can find at Discount Comic Book Service. And
that's right. And we're going to talk about some of those today.
That's right. We will. And so as you go through the previews catalog with us, have your DCBS window open and pre-order your comics as we talk about them.
That's right. You really can't beat the prices at Discount Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com for all of your comics pre-ordering needs. And after you do get your books there, please be sure to drop them an email and tell them that the two guys with PhDs sent you. So, Paul, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you, Derek?
I'm fine. You know, this month when I was going through the catalog, I thought, I'm going to try to cut things back. I got to the end of my list and I saw how long it was.
It's an art to learn to say no to things that are enticing. That's a challenge for me, for sure. But and
especially in terms of keeping our preview shows down to manageable sizes.
Well, there may be life circumstances that will compel me to do that today. So sometimes you have to. The economies of mundane living will force those things on you.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started with those highlights.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, Paul, one of the things we had discussed last month, and May was after they made all of the changes to the new previews, with DC having its own catalog. And we were a little surprised that Image was the first publisher listed in the premium section. Now, or premium publisher section. And we had speculated that maybe they're going to rotate that out, but apparently they're not.
Yeah, here we have Image right at the front and its usual plethora of offerings. So
yeah, that's the second time we've used the word plethora on today's episode. So that may be a first. But so we can start in the Image section. And where do you begin in Image?
Actually, I figured that we would be talking about these number ones. And I just note that this month they're something that I've enjoyed about Image, which is that there's an increasing I think, variety of notes and voices. And so we start with Leviathan #1, which is, I think, their first featured book.
Right. And that's on page 34.
That's right. Written by John Layman, of Chew, and drawn by Nick Pitara of Manhattan Projects.
Right. So a great team, and it's an interesting premise. It says, poor Ryan DeLuca didn't buy enough beer for his party, and while he was out on a beer run, his idiot buddies busted out some mythical arcana and performed a summoning ceremony, a ceremony that summoned a giant monster from hell. Interesting. And with John Layman's sense of humor, it's bound to be a good read, a fun read, kind of like Chew was.
Yeah, I think the combination of Layman's humor and Pitara's humorous art style. Yeah, it's a perfect match, I think.
And then after that, if we turn to page 36, here's something that's interesting. Perdy, Volume 1, and this is a hardcover. And I'm okay. So this is by both story and art by Kickley. I guess I used to pronounce that.
I'm guessing, yeah. That's what I guess too. Yeah.
I think we've brought Kickley up on a previous episode of the podcast, but I can't be certain. And that's a European creator.
Right.
I'm wondering if this book will be in album format.
It looks like it. Yeah, it says it's trim sizes. It specifies actually the trim size there.
Yeah, and it's hard copy. So, and this seems interesting. This is about a woman who went to, where was it, an Amazon prison? Perdy loves two things, sex and robbing banks, no particular order. So Yuma prison. She goes into a Yuma prison and then comes out a number of years later. And it's about what she learns when she gets out. So she still has her bandit ways, but she's older, she's bigger, she's not as attractive. And so the robbing banks part she may still be able to do. The sex, who knows? But it looks interesting.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see this throughout the walkthrough previews today. A lot of European comics coming available to us. And Kickley was an Angoulême nominee, as it mentions here. And so there's a Angoulême's, I guess, award. I don't know too much about it, to be honest. Yeah. So I just feel like there's maybe a way that the entrance of more and more European comics into the American market, obviously they've always been there, but it seems like more companies are looking there for material, is a welcome one. There's a great sense of cartooning that's going on in these pages, in these preview pages that we see. So looks like a fun ride. Yeah, I mean, obviously we get those European albums from publishers like Humanoids and Europe Comics and places like that. Right. But you're right. More and more we're finding additional albums, European writers in premium publishers. Yeah, yeah. So and Dark Horse has done quite a number, but Image is starting to step up its game. Yeah, that's right. Okay. That's right. What about you? What's next? What's next is on page 38, and I'm pretty sure you're not going to be picking this up. It's Cold Spots, #1 of 5, story by Cullen Bunn with art by Mark Torres. And this is a horror title. So it says psychological terror, the undead, and a supernaturally bitter cold time come together in this spine-thrilling new series. So it's maybe not for you, but I'm interested. I like Cullen Bunn's work. Yeah, well, one of these days, you're right that I'm probably not going to pick this up, but one of these days, I've read some interesting sort of retrospectives of the impact that Stephen King has had on the horror genre more generally. Obviously, a monumental one, and we're seeing Cullen Bunn having a very large imprint on horror comics, and so I'd be curious for somebody to break that down for me. But then mostly so I can avoid reading the actual freaky works themselves. Yeah, and I swear, Cullen Bunn is coming out with so many titles right now. Yep. It's unbelievable. Across publishers, too. That's kind of an interesting thing. Yeah. Well, so, speaking of... Where do you go? Oh, yeah. Speaking of writers who go across publishers, Chris Sabella has also been sort of sowing seeds in different places, and Crowded #1 on the facing page has an art style that appeals to me by Ro Stein, an artist that I don't know of, but I guess has done Captain Marvel and Raven the Pirate Princess. And Yeah, it looks good. It looks like it says 10 minutes in the future, which is a funny premise. You know, we talk about near future. In 10 minutes in the future, the world runs on an economy of job shares and apps, including Reaper, a crowdfunding platform to fund assassinations. So, of course, you have to take some like real life phenomenon of today and tie it with like murder. So that's basically
and there's a little skull in the title.
That's right. The O of crowded. It just seems like an app. So that looks interesting. I like Christabel's work. It's always a lot out there. Yeah. So
I do too. I wondered about that though. And at the same time, I need to cut back on my Image purchases.
Right.
So
yeah,
I got to cut somewhere. Well, after that is, and I don't want to say much about this because we've talked about the title before, curse words, and we usually don't discuss in these preview shows issues after the number one unless there's something different or something special going on. And this is Curse Words Summer Swimsuit Special number one. And of course, Charles Soule does this and Joe Quinones does the art. And of course, Ryan Brown does the cover. Yeah, I'm sorry that Ryan Brown stepped off of this title a while back, but still, it's worth picking up, and that's on page 40.
Yeah, Joe Quinones is nothing to cough at too. He's got good chops. So
yeah, and the next place I go is that following page 41.
Why don't you talk on that? Hey Kids Comics.
Yeah, it seems weird. This is a Howard Chaykin book, both the interior art and the writing. And if nothing else, I have to say this is one of the most interesting premises that I see in this catalog. It says, Hey Kids Comics takes its cue from nearly a century of turbulence and triumph, despair and drama in the comic book racket. Artists and writers, conmen and clowns, geniffs and gangsters create the foundations of today's biggest entertainment industry, or at least the tall tail that wags the dog. Some of it really happened, and the names have been changed to protect the innocent and guilty. Although in the end, everyone was guilty of something.
Yeah, it's interesting. The cover is a photograph of somebody, looking like sitting at a con selling a bunch of issues of Powerhouse Comics, but it definitely is a sort of peek behind the curtain. When I saw this, I had the intended confusion of whether this was nonfiction or was this like a trade magazine or was this like an actual comic story? But I think that's, part of the point. There's references here to the Wolf of Wall Street. And, I think given the recent passing of Philip Roth, that sort of metatextual play is, something that, we can see more of in comics, and Howard Chaykin is obviously somebody who's been around enough to know it well. I'm interested in the fact that the genre that's in the little green box says romance, historical fiction. That's I think.
Historical fiction, okay, but from the description, the solicit, romance?
Who knows?
And, I like you, I was intrigued when I saw this cover. It is photographic. And I thought, is this a comic or not?
Right.
And from the description, from the solicit, I really can't tell much about exactly what it's going to be about. So I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Where do you go after that?
I'm interested in 44. I don't know if you have stuff before that.
No, in fact, that's the last place I go in Image.
Yeah. Mike Norton of Battle Pug fame. Am I right about that? Has a book.
Oh, yeah. Love his work.
Yeah. Called Lil Donnie Volume 1. And, it's a webcomic that's being collected. It, was nominated for a Reuben. And, obviously it's a political sort of satiring of Donnie. And
Lil Donnie.
Lil Donnie. I just love this subtitle. His first book. So, I don't know. We need a little bit of humor to, well, I guess there's a lot of it out there, but we need a little bit of humor, I think, to ease us through these times. To
temper the foreboding.
That's right, yeah.
And one of the things I found interesting about this is the fact that Lil is spelled L-I-L apostrophe, not L-I apostrophe L. I wonder about that choice. But now, did you know about this webcomic before?
No, I didn't.
Neither did I.
Yeah. Well, spelling being particular about spelling is not an aspect of Lil Donnie's.
Well, maybe that's the joke.
Yeah, I imagine so.
And as I mentioned, that's all that I have in Image.
Yeah. You know, as you thumb through these pages. Do you have anything else? No, as you thumb through these pages, you're just like, there's a lot of good stuff. Some of it I'm keeping up with, a lot of it I'm not, and I wish I was. So, you know, we'll look forward to indulging myself to a catch-up reading of a lot of these titles.
Yep.
Yeah, but I go next to Dark Horse.
Yes, and we probably go to the same place.
Yep, we've been waiting for this one on page 84, 85, 86. Yep. Yeah. This is The Seeds, number 1. And, you know, way back when we talked to Karen Berger about Berger Books, this, you know, I was excited really about the whole line. It's pretty outstanding. It's been pretty outstanding. I've been following them. But The Seeds, by Ann Nocenti and David Aja is one that we've been sort of, you know, waiting for. It might be the sort of, apocalypse sounding premise. It might be the incredible cover design by David Aja of Hawkeye fame, of that, famous Hawkeye run with Matt Fraction. It might be Ann Nocenti whenever she helms a story. It seems like it's got some political intrigue and just good comic stuff. And we get a preview page, which is, a rare sight. And it no surprise, looks really, really intriguing. Looks really dark. Why don't you briefly describe the premise? Yeah, exactly. It's a world much like ours. And it says that, I'll just read, people are smashing their phones and moving into the lawless tech-free Zone B. A few cantankerous aliens have come to collect the last dregs of humanity's essence for the celestial embryo bank. One of them falls in love. Astra is an idealistic journalist who stumbles into the story of a lifetime only to realize that if she reports it, she'll destroy the last hope of a dying world. How far will she go to get her story? So it's, yeah, I mean, it's got intriguing sci-fi premises, but David Aja is a master of tone, and I think it would be really interesting to see that laid out. It's a 4-issue miniseries. You know, of course, we could all wish that it could go longer, but I think from these creators to have that solid 4-issue run come out would be enough. I'll take it. Yep. Yeah. So where do you go after that? I am not until a little while. I imagine you have something before 91. No, I don't. Oh, you don't? Okay. Well, just a quick mention, because it's not necessarily Comics Alternative's normal bag, although I do the Young Readers podcast. So it is. That's right. Disney, so why not? Disney Princess Jasmine's New Pet. And I just make mention of this, not because we frequently highlight Disney Princess comics, but because Neeti Chinani, who was the creator of Pashmina, a debut last year, that really made a splash. Oh, that's right. You talked about it. Yeah. It's fantastic. And she's lending now her talents to rendering Princess Jasmine, and it's looks super cute. And my daughter and I will probably be picking this up and reading it. So, but just cool to see Chinani's career moving in those different directions. So yeah, there are several Disney related solicits in the Dark Horse section this month. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some Frozen stuff, some new Frozen. Yeah. I don't know if the parents out there who are like me are either excited to give their kids more Frozen or like, no, we don't need to bring that song back in the household. Yeah. You know, I'll tell you, since my kids got older and quit watching Disney for the most part, and since I had to quit watching it with them, right? You know, it was on in the house all the time. I have lost track of in the past several years what's been coming out with Disney. I mean, I hear names and whatnot, and sure, you've told me a few things at times on the podcast, but I'm out of Disney now. It's okay. Derek, you can just let it go. Let it go. Yeah. Oh, I will. Believe me. Where do you go next? 99. Do you have anything before that? No. And this is one of two things that I'm excited about in terms of library editions this month in the Dark Horse section. Black Hammer, Library Edition, Volume 1. I can't remember if it was you that I was talking to about this, and it could have been on a past podcast episode. But I think you had asked me if I was keeping up with Black Hammer, or someone, whoever my conversant was asking me if I'm still reading Black Hammer. And I said, you know, I read the first volume. And then after that, I kind of pulled back, and I said, I'm waiting for a library edition. And lo and behold, guess what? you're being treated to the library edition.
Yeah, this is pretty exciting. So it's going to be pricey, but you do get 2 volumes in one. So
yeah, and an attractive large size 8x12 hardcover. So
yeah, like their library editions are. So
yeah. I mean, Dark Horse does them right, and if you get them at DCBS, for instance, it's actually pretty affordable given the size and production quality of these things.
Right.
Yeah.
Where do you go after that?
Well, excited about the trade of the ongoing stuff, but I imagine the next library edition is your next pick, or do you have something before that?
No, actually, on page 103, there's the 3rd volume in the Moebius Library's Inside Moebius series.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so I've gotten the first 2, and this is something that Pascal and I may talk at some point about, I guess later in the year. I'd like to look at all 3 of those.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It says it's a self-reflective series. I looked at the first one, and I've realized I should spend more time reading Moebius work to really appreciate the sort of introspective or self-examination that goes on in these works. But I think this must be a must for big Moebius fans.
Yeah.
So Dark Horse is doing that work. That's great.
Where do you go after this?
Briefly, I'll mention on 105 that if folks never read the Angel Catbird series as it was coming out as 3 separate, books, they're now being collected. Margaret Atwood, of course, of Handmaid's Tale fame, and Johnny Christmas, a great artist, Tamara Bonvillain, colorist. And so now it's being collected all together. The complete Angel Catbird. It's on page 105. So
yeah, I was going to highlight that. I don't know if I'll get it. Who knows? It depends. But I mean, I read the first volume and got that, and I really liked it. I wasn't expecting to.
It's quirky. It's definitely quirky.
Well, quirky is good.
It's good. Yeah, exactly. It's fit for Johnny Christmas and fit for certainly Margaret Atwood. And I did finish all 3 volumes, and it stayed quirky through the end, but it was satisfying. So it's a good full read. Yeah.
Okay. And next, what do we have up?
117.
So I go to 113.
Okay.
Let me get there. I'm looking at an electronic copy. And by the way, are you still using the app?
Yeah, I am. And I once complained when I first mentioned that it came out that if you tap on the covers, it should take you to a link. And now it actually does. And I imagine that eventually... Eventually, I think you can populate an order form or something like that through actually looking at the catalog, which is a really smart thing. That I don't think they've quite put that part together, but anyway, something to watch for. Yeah,
and you have to pay for that, right?
The app, yes, you do.
And how much is each issue that you look at through the app?
So I believe it's $5. And I think it's $5, but you get the Image Plus as well as the Marvel and DC previews. So, yeah, pretty nice package.
I next go to 115. Do you have anything before that?
115? No, I don't.
I said 113, but I was wrong earlier. It's 115.
Okay.
This is Volume 5 of the EC Archives, The Haunt of Fear. So, Dark Horse has been doing for several years the EC Archives and slowly coming out with each issue and so or volume. And this is something that I've been collecting. So not only do I like the material, but the completist in me needs to make sure that I get this.
Yeah, that's cool. It's cool that we're later on we'll look at. I have a collection or 2 of old stuff, but I do like that stuff. I do appreciate that. Yep.
And then I go next to the following page, and this is that other library edition that I mentioned, Harrow County Library Edition, Volume 1. and maybe it was Harrow County that I was talking to someone about. Or Black Hammer, I can't remember, but it was some title from Dark Horse that I was saying, I want to wait for the library edition.
Yeah. And that, I like the library editions because they're, obviously series that have done well enough, that have gone far enough that that you're going to get the satisfaction of a long read. Your Hellboys and things like that, and Fear Agent.
And a good quality text.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be something good. So Harrow County's already in 30-some issues, right? And I think it's wrapped up. Is that right? The series is done? Yeah.
I think, was it last month that they solicited the last issue or the month before? I can't recall.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, my rough back of envelope math is we're going to see probably 3 library editions of these Harrow County books to collect the whole run. It says it's basically two trades, 2 volumes in one of these. And I think it went to 6 or something like that around there. So, that should be good. Yeah. It should be a good way to consume a really good, what I've heard is a really good story. Actually, I did read the first volume of Harrow County and I really liked it. So,
well, actually, on that same page is Harrow County Trade Paperback Volume 8.
Oh, of course.
So, yeah.
All you have to do is look up, Paul. So probably 4 library editions. Yeah. That'll be nice. That'll look great on
chunky.
Yes.
And after that, where do you go?
Probably same place you, facing page, Beasts of Burden, Wise Dogs, and Eldritch Men, number 1 of 4. We're always shilling for Evan Dorkin here. We like his stuff. But also the artist on this one is Benjamin Dewey, who was on Autumn Lands with Kurt Busiek from Image a while back. And that was where I discovered Dewey's work, and really, really good with expressive animals. So that's what you need to do to make Beast of Burden continue as kind of lively and haunting as it's been. So I'm game for this one.
Yeah, I like the Beasts of Burden, and later on, maybe this month or early in July, we're going to have Evan Dorkin on for an interview. And so not only will we be able to talk with him about his new collection, Dork, the new hardbound collection Dork, and also this new series Blackwood, we can also ask him about this new Beast of Burden. Yeah. If followers of Beast of Burden will already not need to be sold on this, but the Eisner nominations that this got is sort of what drew me to the series, because I'm not necessarily an animal lover nor a horror lover, but it's just good comics, and so you sort of shouldn't avoid this or you shouldn't keep away if those things are obstacles for you, like they were for me. Yeah, and there's an kind of FU, if I could say, Evan Dorkin, and there's another side to him that is much more serious not as playful or comedic. Yes. So if you like that side of Evan Dorkin, then this may be something for you. Well, the man has great range, which is part of probably why your conversations with him are so wide ranging and lengthy. Oh God. It's good. Yeah, Gene and I are going to talk to him, and we're wondering if we're in for another marathon interview session. It'll be good. We love that here at the Comics Alternative. And I really do enjoy Evan Dorkin. I've been reading him for years. I discovered him through Milk and Cheese, and then I went back to find some of his previous work in Dork. Right. So. Yeah. I'm at 120 next. Okay. 120 is Conspiracy of Ravens. And what drew me to this was the cover art. I wish we could see some preview art, but it's the artist is Sally Jane Thompson. The writer, though, is what's noted here. One of the writers, Leah Moore and John Repion. And Leah Moore is the daughter of comics legend Alan Moore, as it says in large letters underneath. And I wish the book had more to sell itself. Not more to sell itself than the trading on the Moore name. More in the catalog, more visuals. That's right. Yeah. That's right. I wish I could see more, but it is, it says for fans of Harry Potter and Ella Enchanted and Phantom Tollbooth and stuff like that. So I think it's probably a younger reader targeted, fantasy story. But a lot of, I think us adult readers are into that kind of stuff too. And, it looks good. Yeah. And by the way, my last, solicit in this month's catalog in Dark Horse is on page 121, but I want to make a transition from what you were just saying and what's on 121. Yep. You mentioned the bottom in big red letters from the daughter of comics legend Alan Moore ! Yeah. And then you had the same thing from the creator of One Punch Man with the next choice that I have, Mob Psycho 100. Right. And I noticed that this month, man, they use a lot of exclamation marks, and that started to annoy me.
Yeah, the previous page is actually a Buffy the Vampire Slayer where they have in large print, Joss Whedon! Exclamation point. Christos Gage! Exclamation point. It's just like, yeah, we're just going to take the creators' names and say them really loud.
Yeah, and with Beast of Burden, Evan Dorkin.
Right.
Oh, okay. They need a better editor.
I'm an excessive, I confess, excessive exclamation point user, as you know, Derek, so.
That's okay. But yeah, my final selection in the Dark Horse section is Mob Psycho 100. It's a weird premise. It says, from the creator of One Punch Man, which I enjoy, and Shay and I talked on a previous manga show, the first volume, I think just the first volume. Maybe we talked about the second. Do you or someone need an exorcist who works cheap? Region's your guy. What his secret to bursting gods while keeping prices that low? Or what is his secret? Well, first, he's a fraud. And second, he pays the guy who's a real psychic power, his student assistant, Shigeo, less than a minimum wage. Shigeo is an awkward kid, but with boys. I'm reading from a PDF, so I need to get this a little larger.
It's tough, yeah.
But that's a basic premise.
Yeah, and if it sounds a little bit like One Punch Man, and it's sort of like absurdism. You know, this is a lot of that One Punch Man DNA. And if One Punch Man seems intimidating for a reader because it just goes so far, maybe this is a good place for somebody to jump on with one work that is already being made into an anime and stuff like that. So
yeah, and you were saying that this is similar to One Punch Man, but what One Punch Man does with the superhero genre, this I guess does with horror. Yeah,
ghosts and stuff like that. Yeah.
Do you have anything else in Dark Horse?
I go to 152 after that in IDW.
Okay. Well, the next section, at least in the catalog, is DC. And again, what DC, as I mentioned last month, does is what Marvel's been doing for years, and that is puts a very limited section, not much information, in the catalog, and then they have their own catalog.
Yeah, I just always figure we'll talk about it separately, but we can do it whenever. We can do it now or later if you want.
Yeah, let's go to the DC Previews catalog.
Okay.
And, last month I mentioned that DC that month really didn't have much for me. This is something different. There are a number of things that caught my interest. And one is on page 2 of the DC catalog, and this is the Sandman universe. Now, I've been wondering when this would arrive, but now we have, and I don't know. It's something that I'm looking forward to, but I'm challenging it to impress me.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes I'm skeptical and sometimes annoyed when creators come back to properties to try to revive it because it was such a moneymaker and successful the first time around. But this has a variety of writers and artists. I'm not going to even name them because there's so many. But it looks interesting. Are you going to try this out?
Yeah, I am because, DC, since its rebirth started roughly 2.5 years ago or so, has really come in swinging. Vertigo is kind of coming back. That's the most recent announcement under the editorship of Mark Doyle, who's been pretty steady hand aboard the Batman line and stuff like that. And Doyle has a knack. I think Doyle's been at Vertigo before and has a knack for finding really good titles. So, we're not talking about those announcements quite yet, but everything's coming back. Even Watchmen, maybe Sacrosanct if People is being brought back by Jeff Johns. So I knew that DC would eventually along the way, come back to their old Sandman, success. And, Gaiman's involved. He's involved in the story crafting, but I am impressed with the creative lineup, and the writers and artists. And, I, like many people, I have a special affection for Sandman. And so I can't resist coming, the intrigue of coming back. And the last round of Return to Sandman was so slow in coming out. It was the what is it called? The Sandman.
Oh God,
it's like right on my shelf somewhere. Since you
asked me, I can't think of it.
Of course, it immediately leaves our brain the minute we need to access it. But anyway, that was slow to come. It was good, but it was just took its time. So I'm kind of interested in this sort of new lease on some of these characters. So I'm on board.
Yeah, I'm going to pick it up.
Yeah,
and try it out and just see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I next go to page 4 in the DC catalog.
Mm-hmm. These interest me too. We can talk about these. Yeah.
Okay, first off, let's talk about imprints or lines. 2 big pieces of news we find in this month's catalog, is that there's a new line called Jinx World, and this is Brian Michael Bendis's, as you referred to earlier. Mm-hmm. And so
which actually Jinx World, I think, is the name of the imprint that he's had for a while, since Powers, I think. But, he's carried that around to different companies.
But he brings it over to DC. I mean, this is new at DC.
That's right, yeah.
So we have the beginning of this, but we also have the end of Young Animal.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that. That's right. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Pearl number 1, this is written, as we said, by Brian Michael Bendis with art by Michael Gaydos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the creative team that brought Jessica Jones to us once upon a time. And
they really play that up in the solicit.
Sure. I mean, I think, and also, is this a David Mack cover? No, this is Michael Gaydos. But it definitely has that feel, for sure. So we're definitely trying to, bring back that feeling. But, Pearl is a tattoo artist who's an assassin, of course, for the Yakuza in San Francisco. So yeah, the optics here are cool and interesting. I don't know, some people are tired of the Bendis. I like his stuff. I still even read the superhero stuff. And on the facing page, we have Scarlet, which I think it's, intentionally put together here. Scarlet this isn't reprinting the old Scarlet stuff, right? This is new Scarlet, I think, but Scarlet is basically a series that Bendis and Maleev, very slowly in drips and drabs, came out with for a while. Actually, they were consistent for a while, and then it sort of tailed off, but, because of where their, respective careers went with the big 2. But I think that it's been good, and I have the sort of hardcover of the first collection of that. So I'm excited to see Bendis doing creator-owned stuff. I mean, he got so wrapped up in doing Marvel Universe that the stuff that originally brought me to him, was actually his like Powers and Elliot Ness graphic novel and things like that. Like, I liked that about Bendis. I don't mind the superhero stuff, but I'm glad that he's having the time in his new home at DC to work on this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Young Animal.
Well, I go next. I'm not going to get this, but I just wanted to note it real quick on page 14 of the DC catalog, the Lex Luthor Porky Pig special. And the reason that this caught my attention, it is a damn freaky looking cover. The bald heads of both the pig and Lex. I don't know. It's unsettling.
Sure. This is part of the ongoing Hanna-Barbera and DC crossovers, which have been pretty good, actually. So, yeah. We had an episode, a year ago, about that first series of crossovers. Right.
So where do you go next?
Oh, I was just mentioning with you that on page 23 we get Cave Carson has an Interstellar Eye, which is the second Cave Carson series. Number 6, which is this the last? Yeah, the final issue. It says
final issue.
So we are seeing the sort of closing up shop for now, in the very pop up way that I guess folks of the generation do this thing, but Gerard Way is closing up shop for now for Young Animal, which has brought us a lot of really, really great series that we've talked about and enjoyed. So this, as well as, on page 29, Eternity Girl number 6, which is the last issue of that really great series too.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
The solicit text. This issue, everyone will die. So it's a pretty intensely dark, but very, searching kind of series. I know you talked to Magdalene Bosaggio and Sonny Liu. And so, we knew that was going to come to an end. Just, sad to see it close up for now, but I think, obviously these folks will be back with different things.
Yeah. And then on page 53, you have the final issue of Shade, the Changing Woman.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was nice while it lasted.
Yep. So, c'est la vie.
Yeah. Do you have, or where else do you go in DC?
Actually, that's all I had, I think.
I just want to mention something that you referenced earlier, and that is the Before Watchmen Omnibus.
Oh,
yeah, this is on page, 72 or 77. Now, I'm not going to get this, but and as you mentioned, there was a controversy with Before Watchmen.
Yeah. It's I think it's funny that they're putting this out in an omnibus because these books are everywhere.
Yeah.
Like half-price books, on the internet. But there's collectors for whom an omnibus is a treasured thing. I guess I'm one of those. I should just look to the shelf to my left where there's like a whole bunch of omnibus editions sitting on the shelf. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I shared the initial excitement about this, but also like, it feels a little wrong, but the creators were so awesome, Darwin Cook. I mean, anytime you get Darwin Cook on something or Eduardo Rousseau and those kind of folks, but
Amanda Connor.
Yeah. But they were of varying quality and degree of satisfaction for me. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you like Before Watchmen, this is your opportunity to get the omnibus. And then the final place I go in the DC catalog is page 84. And this is the third that they're announcing in the Jinx World series at DC, the United States of Murder, Inc., Volume 1, Truth.
This is reprinting. Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
So they are gonna bring this older material.
Yeah,
because when I noted this and I was going through the catalog really quickly, I didn't see that it was trade paperback. So
yeah, and I want to say this was maybe under Icon at Marvel, which it was basically reduced to Bendis stuff.
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah, exactly. So this might be where that originally appeared, but yeah, it's Powers like Bendis stuff, which is yeah.
So after that is the IDW section. And what do you have in IDW?
It's going to take me a second to jump because I'm in the app. I'm switching from the DC to the previews, but I know that I'm on page, let me go on my notes here. Excuse me for this. This is great podcasting. 152 is Enola Holmes. And this is I believe targeted at younger readers, and Enola Holmes is a Sherlock tangential, just trying to get to this list so I can see exactly what the relationship, niece, daughter, I don't know, but it's a Sherlock Holmes related, run. Wait, am I there? No, I noted the wrong page number. This is even better podcasting. Why don't we go to the next thing while I try to set myself straight with this?
Okay. Well, I next go to, I guess it is the Black Crown subsection of the IDW section.
Let's go there. Yeah.
The fourth issue of the Black Crown Quarterly, which is an anthology series. So, it's worth mentioning. I've found that interesting. But that following page is yet another new series from Black Crown, House Amok. This is by Christopher Sabella. And then Sean McManus is the artist.
Yeah.
Interesting. This is 10-year-old fraternal twin Dylan Sandler and her family have been taken down a rabbit hole full of secret implants, conspiracy theories. And again, I got to make this bigger.
PDF
I can't read it.
Not doing you favors.
No, it's not. Mandela effects.
Yeah.
Extra-dimensional invaders and organ thieves.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave it at there because, but yeah, I've been liking the Black Crown stuff. Actually, I've liked the Black Crown stuff better than the Burger Books material.
Yeah. I mean, they've both been good. They definitely have different vibes, I mean, there's a lot of overlap here, but definitely, they're sort of post Vertigo in different ways, in unique ways. But I was just on this for the creative team, all four of these, Sabella, McManus, Leela Rajenda, and Aditya Bidikar, are all creators I like to follow. I like their work, so I sort of trust that, and I'll go with that. Yeah.
So where do you go after that?
Let me rectify my earlier blunder. It was on page 152. I just wasn't scrolling to the right page. And it is Enola Holmes, The Case of the Missing Marquess, writer Stephen Serena Blasco, not Stephen Bochco, Serena Blasco, and adaptation.
That'd be weird.
Yeah. That'd be doing comics. Interesting. And Nancy Springer, who wrote a sort of mystery series about Enola Holmes, who is Holmes's younger sister. That was the relationship I was looking for. And there's actually a little featurette about this book later on in the previews catalog. It's on page 258. But it's just about how this character, who is sort of Holmes's sister, and we know that there's something in that Sherlock Holmes DNA that makes them all brilliant mystery solvers. Because I've always been a Sherlock Holmes fan, but there is something exceedingly male in the lineage of, mystery stories that obviously has been being overturned at least since Agatha Christie. But there is a way that, these stories, and particularly the way that my daughter likes them and responds to them, makes me really excited for the variety of mystery stories, and to go back to that Holmes DNA, and to have the sister of Holmes be, whatever these stories are, should be fun, and it's fun to see in comics. So that's why I'm into that. Yep.
After that, I go to 158.
Yeah, same.
And this is something that's interesting. Femme Magnifique. 50 magnificent women who changed the world, and a variety of creators and artists, or writers and artists, like Gail Simone, Mary Sue DeConnick, Gerard Way. It goes on and on. So even Gilbert Hernandez does the art in one of the stories. Yep.
And Elsa Chartier and Annie Wu, and amazing artists. I actually got this book as a Kickstarter supporter. It was Kickstarted? Yeah. I want to say it was.
I did not know that.
It was one of those things in the wake of the election, where you just saw a lot of creative people wanting to channel energies somewhere, and post, shoot. Now I'm blanking on all kinds of names, but the day after the election, when the marches the day after the inauguration, when the Women's March and things like that really gave us a momentum to want to just speak out culturally. This was kickstarted, and these creators really assembled it's 50 stories of different women, and it's great. I supported it on Kickstarter, and then it became a gift that I wanted to give to various people in my life. So it's
so
really
you
good.
Read it yet?
I have. Yeah. It's phenomenal. Yeah.
Have you read Penelope Baguiou's Brazen?
That as well. Brazen is
so how does it compare?
Sure. Yeah. Brazen is more extended, and it's definitely got the single author sense. So there's a, sense of, and these are, cohesion, and also that the stories are a little bit longer in Brazen than this, but similar thing going on, and just really cool, really diverse stories, and women that I've known about for years, and women that I'd never heard of. So it's great. It's a great kind of little small education and a little inspiration.
Yeah. Well, after that, where do you head to?
161, James Brown, Black and Proud, a biography by Xavier Farteau, I'm going to guess. Thanks. I was like, if I don't come in with the James Brown, I trust Derek will.
Yeah.
So you came through for us. Good God. So it's so this is a 144 page hardcover biography on, of course we're still in IDW here. And, I don't, for all the James Brown I've consumed in my life, whether, his music or via Eddie Murphy, I don't know much about the background of his life. And so I'm interested in this to learn about James Brown. We have a little bit of preview art, which looks pretty good. And, I do enjoy, being introduced to lives of historical figures and celebrities and stuff like that through comics. I feel like it's an interesting way to utilize the visual medium, something that, your friend, Andy Kunka has looked at as well. And so it's one of two actually biographies that I'm going to come to, from this previews catalog. Okay. Yeah.
Well, on the next page, no, 2 pages later. 2 pages. Yeah. Is, something I've been waiting for, and this is Carolyn Nowak's Girl Town.
Yep.
And so this collects her stories from Radish's and Diana's Electric Tongue, and maybe several others. I don't know. But I'm familiar with Radish's, and I remember that winning the Ignatz Award. And I talked to her and even interviewed her briefly when I was at SPX a couple of years ago. So this is something I want to interview her for the show.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And I would love to read this. Absolutely. I became aware of her because of those Ignatz nominations and awards. Diana's Electric Tongue, I think this last year as well. So, this collection of stories will be my first time actually reading. I don't remember. I think Diana's Electric Tongue was published online. Am I right about that?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I remember glancing at it, and maybe even if it wasn't published online, maybe even picking it up somewhere, because the story and this art looks familiar, but I just never gave myself the time to actually sit and read it. So this will be good to kind of read it all in a collection. And yeah, I think it'd be lovely to talk either, with Carolyn Nowak on the show, or, talk about this. Yeah.
Absolutely. So,
I'm at
do you have
Boom
anything
next.
else?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
so one last thing, and I'll just say in passing, on the next page, 164 is Frankenstein Alive, the complete collection. Now, this is a long time in coming. I don't know if I'll get this. I probably won't, since I have all the issues already, but I'm sure this will be a very nice looking volume.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so boom.
Yeah, I skip over a lot of Dynamite and stuff.
Yeah, I skip over all the Dynamite, which is unfortunate. Sure. But
well, I always look, because there's sometimes surprises, but in this case, nothing. But I am excited because on 202, at the beginning of Boom, they're advertising an original graphic novel from the world of Lumberjanes. This is Lumberjanes, The Internal Compass, written by Lila Sturgis and illustrated by Poulter Inc., and covered by Alexa Sharp. This looks good. It's 112 pages. And it's the first time that Lumberjanes is coming to us in an OGN fashion. And I kept up with Lumberjanes for a while, and I didn't drop off because it was not good. I just, had other things to read. But I wonder if this is a nice place to re-enter, the Lumberjanes world, because it's a sort of looks like a standalone graphic novel. And I'm not familiar with Poulter Inc. as an artist, but I think I like these little sketches that we can see. So this may be a way to sort of re-enter the Lumberjanes work, which I think has a lot of cultural significance within the world of comics. So, yeah.
I go to page 204. Do you have anything before that?
Nope.
This is something I'm really excited about. This is the new series from Matt Kent and Tyler Jenkins, who, if we recall, did Grass Kings, which was one of my favorites.
Yep.
Last year. What was it? Last year?
Yeah.
The year before? I can't recall. But yes. So this looks to be really interesting. It says, among their generation, the Black Badges are the elite, the best of the best. They are feared even by other badges. The missions they take on are dangerous, and they only got worse after their leader's attention is split between their mission and tracking down a lost team member, a member who disappeared years ago. And this is a team of children.
Yep.
Yeah, of scouts.
Yeah, it looks good. I think it seems like if you were into Grass Kings, I got to say that now. I think I've decided that my favorite illustrator for Matt Kent is Matt Kent, but my second favorite is Tyler Jenkins. We read Matt Kent all over the place, including like Valiant Work and all that kind of stuff. And it's cool. I think Jenkins's style is tonally perfect for Kent's kind of story. So this looks good, and I did enjoy Grass Kings a lot. I'd love to actually. I feel like that's one of those stories that I wish there was an outlet or a community or a place to talk about. Maybe our Patreon supporters want to talk about it or something like that. But this series is going to be good, and of course we get the Jeff Lemire variant cover, and I'm with this.
Well, it seems like both Jeff Kent or Matt Kent and Jeff Lemire are both all over the place.
Totally. Their universe is ever expanding.
Where do you go next in Boom?
Just a brief mention at 227. Do you have anything before that?
Yeah, and this will be a brief mention as well. On 216 is the trade collection of Abbott by Saladin Ahmed and illustrations by Sami Kavella.
Yeah.
This is something that I read the first issue of, and in fact, I think Gene and I discussed it on an episode of the podcast.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and we enjoyed it, and I really liked it, but I didn't go on after that. So if I'm of the mind, maybe this will be an opportunity to pick things back up.
Yeah, 5-issue series. I think I've read until 4.
So you read more than me.
Yeah, stays good. It stays good. Yeah, there's many things actually ongoing that we're just going to pass through here. Met Cadet U, which I mentioned before, I'm loving on this podcast, is wrapping up pretty soon. And so the second volume is coming out, and then the penultimate issue 11 is up. But actually, I was going to mention on 227 that they're reprinting a Peanuts, or they're printing a Peanuts Dell archive. And so pretty early in the life of Peanuts in 1955, Schultz started to publish some Peanuts stories with Dell, and it actually was sort of original stuff created outside of the strips. And so this is kind of collecting this together, and I've seen that work in other kinds of collections in other places, but this is kind of they're calling it a definitive hardcover collection. So if you're a Peanuts head like I am, and I've liked the way that Boom has sort of used the Peanuts license, a license which gets used lots and lots of different places, Peanuts has been very generous. The Schultz family has been pretty generous in where Peanuts can go, but Boom has done some good stuff with it, and I think that this is worthwhile too. Yeah.
Okay, so now we get to, I guess you could call it the indie section, or the small publisher section.
Yeah.
Or some people call it the green section. This is all the rest.
Yes.
That first iteration of the Gilligan's theme title, they had "and the rest." So they completely passed over the Professor and Mary Ann.
Did they? I didn't realize this.
Yeah. In the very early episodes of Gilligan's Island, it was, Gilligan, his skipper, to the millionaire and his wife, right. The movie star, and the rest.
Wow.
You didn't know about that?
No, maybe they didn't plan for the Professor and Mary Ann to have such prominent roles. But
well, from what I hear, I think it was what got the name in the song when they changed things is Bob Denver going to the producers and saying, "Hey, you really do need to treat these others the same."
I'm glad that advocacy was made on the Professor and Mary Ann's behalf.
So now we're here with the rest. And where do you first go in the green section?
I am at 238 at Abrams.
I am too. Abrams or Abrams ComicArts?
Abrams ComicArts. There is an Abrams pick, but I think I wanted to focus on Undocumented. Yeah. Undocumented, A Worker's Fight by Duncan Tonatia, I'm going to guess. And it's a story of immigrant workers who come to the U.S. without papers. It looks good. 128 pages hardcover, 7x11. And I don't know Tonatia's previous work. Do you?
No, I don't.
It says award-winning author and illustrator, but it's always funny when you put that on the cover and you don't say which award. Nonetheless, the subject matter itself, and I like the cool art. It's sort of like a remix of sort of like ancient, I'm going to get this wrong, but Maya or Aztec art or something like that, turned into a comics form. And, seems political in just the ways that I love, and about something really important to me personally.
And very timely.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Well, timely now, and given the antipathy of the administration and others. But also, these are lives and stories that I sort of, the people I love. And so this is cool. I'm glad. I'm always glad when Abrams is coming out with something in the comics world, but this looks like it's going to be really good. But I don't know. We've never seen this before, right? I mean, it doesn't have all those tags of like essential or, featured or spotlight or whatever.
That's another thing they overplay. The essential tag on almost everything, it seems, or half of the solicits this month. It's like, guys, calm down with the essential tags, calm down with the exclamation marks.
Right.
So This episode is turning into Derek's design gripes.
Hopefully folks at Previews are listening.
Yeah. Where do you go after that?
I am at, just the column next to it is the Strangers of Paradise Kids Collected Edition, which I've never read it all together, so I'm kind of interested in that. But really 264 is where I go next.
I have something on 245.
Cool.
And this is under Adhouse. It's Viewotron #1. This is by Sam Sharp and Patch E. Goodrich or S. Goodrich.
Peach. It looks like Peach, but
Peach. Yeah.
Yeah. That's uncommon name. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to note this is, one, it looks like an interesting premise.
Yeah.
But second, Adhouse has been doing more of this lately, or at least maybe this is the beginning of something that they're going to do more of in the future. This is a comic book, an ongoing series.
Right. Yep.
And, they came out earlier this year with Live Work.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Which you were a big fan of.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I really want to read that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is, and it's got the sort of, it doesn't have dimensions here, but it's got sort of the shape of, I wonder if it's going to be pretty big. It's only $7 but it's 48 pages. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, format size I'm wondering about, but it does look like good comics. I love Adhouse. I don't know how I missed this, but actually, I do know. I was just flipping through the pages really fast, trying to avoid staring too much at the zombie tramp right above it, which is one of those things. I mean, Previews is doing a lot that I like, but the fact that you still have these really sweet, all ages comics, kids comics, next to like your Xenoscopes and Boundless stuff, sometimes it just kills me. But anyway,
one thing,
is always good.
Okay, I don't want to badmouth Adhouse. Mm-hmm. But there are not many of their titles that I read because they do a lot of this kind of stuff that you're mentioning. And also sometimes it seems like they're, I don't want to say churning out material, but they're coming out with things that the ones that I've read, sometimes I haven't been impressed with. It just seems like more work could have gone into it.
Oh, sorry. Were you saying Adhouse or?
No, did I say Adhouse?
You did say Adhouse.
I'm sorry. I meant, I'm blanking.
Aftershock
Aftershock.
Not
Aftershock. Who did Zombie Tramp?
Oh, yeah. No, shoot. I don't. Action Lab. Yeah. Yes, exactly. You're right.
We're on the ball this morning, right?
That's right. Your description is totally apt of Action Lab and not at all of Adhouse, actually. Adhouse is rare and always good, but Action Lab does. I feel exactly the same. Sometimes there's something that's like, oh, that looks pretty good, but then it's lost amidst, what feels like not so high quality. So I'm with you on that. Yeah.
And then I have something on 249. Where did you say you go next?
Oh, not yet. So 249. Let's go there.
Okay. And this is another new series from Aftershock. And this is Hot Lunch Special by, I guess, written by Elliot Rahal with art by Jorge Fornes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It seems interesting. I think I may have mentioned before, I have stopped trying the new series from Aftershock just because they're doing so many.
Right.
But it's good stuff. It's good work.
Yeah. I mean, if listeners out there are reading the Aftershock titles and want to point us toward, we talked about A Walk Through Hell, which was good. It was a great start. If folks who are reading Aftershock stuff out there want to point us toward what their favorite titles are, I'd be willing to give this a shot, but I'm same as you. There's just so much of it that I haven't really been able to hear about or discern which ones are really worth the time, the investment. So.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not until 264. So.
Oh, 264. Okay.
Yeah.
More in passing on 256, I want to mention under the Albatross Funnybooks section, of course, this is Eric Powell's work, is we have a new Hillbilly series. This is Hillbilly Red Eye Witchery from Beyond that's beginning. And also we have the collection of Spook House. And I read the first couple of issues for that and really liked it. And I like Hillbilly too.
Yep. All from the mind of Eric Powell.
Yes, which is a good mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
264?
264.
Yeah. Again, a surprising source, but I shouldn't be because they do a they always have an interesting mixed bag of stuff, but this is Amigo Comics. And on it, there's a work called Mateo and the Flower, and the Flower of the Rain. Yeah, because it's real little in the corner. But I actually went and chased down, the preview pages that are available online somewhere. Actually on their website, on Amigo Comics' website. It's by Moises Escudero. And it looks more like there's panels, but it's, the preview pages that I saw, like the cover, are just really beautiful. What looks like painted, kind of art. This is a kid's book, 50 pages, and, it looks really good. So I'm interested in seeing this. And then right next to it, there's a kind of a collection. I don't know if they published this before, but I think it is a resolicit. Yeah, it does say it's a resolicit of some Jack Kirby and Wally Wood work called Sky Masters of the Space Force. I just mentioned it because it's sort of like another marker point of like, what exactly is Amigo Comics doing? It's doing, Nancy in Hell, but also these things. So it just seems to be a mixed bag. Do you know anything about Amigo?
No, I don't.
Yeah. I'm not sure where they're coming from, or their line seems very, very mixed. So just curious about that. Yeah. And then I do have something on the facing page. Do you have other?
No, I don't have anything until 302.
Okay, just a brief mention that there's a spotlight on Ozzie and Millie, Volume 1, which is a graphic novel by Dana Simpson. Dana Simpson is the cartoonist of Phoebe and Her Unicorn, which you can actually just see on the page just underneath. So again, for folks who are maybe like me, adult comic readers who are interested in stuff that kids are reading, Phoebe and Her Unicorn is one of these comics that is showing up in the Scholastic book fairs and stuff like that. So lots and lots of little kids are reading. And I've mentioned it before with Gwen on the Young Readers podcast, but it's sort of a 4-panel, and in the way that web comics are carrying on the tradition of old newspaper strips. And this one is really doing that. And Dana Simpson has a really clean, and fun style. And so she's doing a graphic novel here, Ozzie and Millie, Volume 1. So it's about middle school kids, and 2 of them happen to be foxes. Actual foxes, the animal. So that's kind of what the story. So that'll be interesting.
Another anthropomorphic tale.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, I don't have anything until 302 in the Drawn and Quarterly section.
Oh, okay. I was a brief mention in 300 before we get there, at Dial Books. And again, this is me coming from a, educator parent interest, I think. It's Monster Mayhem.
Funny cover.
Yeah. And I'm into it because Chris Eliopoulos, who people might know, is just so good. He's such a great artist. And that, recent series of, do they have it in here? No, he did a recent series of little for kids biographies of Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and Amelia Earhart and stuff like that. So on this page, he's got Monster Mayhem, fun cover of this giant, sort of dinosaur reptile looking character. And then this girl, standing on his arm, it says an awesome sci-fi adventure full of thrills and laughs. And so it's just looks like a fun all ages graphic novel in Chris Eliopoulos' signature, really, cute and fun style with certain hints and traces of the Bill Watterson in it. So yeah. Just want to mention that.
Okay, on 302 in the Drawn and Quarterly section, we have something that I've been waiting for a long time, and that is Berlin, the Complete Collection. And this is a hardcover edition, which is interesting because on the following page, not only are they resoliciting volumes 1 and 2 of paperback of Berlin, but also I think the new 3 that's coming out. So they're completists. A lot of publishers don't do that. But yeah, the Complete Collection. And in fact, we're going to have Jason Lutz on the show to talk about this.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. It makes sense because I have 1 and 2. So trying to budget, I'm like, should I get the complete edition or should I just get 3?
Yeah.
And, I'm thinking I'm going to go with getting 3 just to consume all of it. But no, this is big, Jason Lutz is working at Berlin, which has been something that people have pointed to as a sort of shining, emblematic of what comics can do of historical cultural significance. And, here it is, coming to its conclusion and being collected. And so this is I think, this is a pretty important piece. And, if people don't have the first 2 volumes already and like me are going to pick up the third to complete it, then you have a complete edition here. $50, 7x10.
But you can get it at good discount at Discount Comic Book Service, our sponsor.
That's right. So yeah, Berlin, get it.
And then on the following page, we have a couple of other, I'm assuming, new titles from Drawn and Quarterly.
Yep.
Bad Friends by Anko.
Anko, ANCCO.
Yeah. And then Woman World by, what is that?
Aminder Dhaliwal.
Aminder Dhaliwal. So, yeah, I'm interested in those too. And of course, as they usually do, Drawn and Quarterly resolicits a lot of stuff.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're entering, apart from Image and Dark Horse, this is the, this is the part of the catalog we tend to spend a lot of time in. So, as usual, great Drawn and Quarterly stuff before we get to the great, Fantagraphics stuff.
Yeah. Is that where you go next, the Fantagraphics section?
It is.
Me as well.
So this is kind of being featured in this issue. It's Dementia 21, by Shintaro Kago. And, it's, sort of, and I'm really enjoying this. It's sort of like, throwback manga, which I'm kind of, kind of appreciating that from the perspective of things that are coming out now. I'm getting to gather a sense of the long and varied history of manga. But, in this case, Kago is combining what it says here, a traditional manga style with a hyper-realistic illustration technique, and creating something, a genre of his own that, he calls fashionable paranoia. And so that sounds really interesting. Besides, of course, the Fantagraphics pedigree. Dementia 21 it's coming up.
Yeah. And that caught my attention as well. Mm-hmm. And then right under that is Roly Poly by Daniel Simmons.
Mm-hmm. Semanas?
Oh, Semanas.
Mm-hmm. That's printed really small.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Other new titles they have coming out, and this is on page 313. Penguins by Nick Thornburg, which looks interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nick Thornburg's stuff, I don't know it, but this it's supposed to be a wordless book about it's short strips that are interconnected. That does look good.
Mm-hmm. And then under that is, I guess, the next volume in the Love and Rockets library collection. This is Three Sisters by Gilbert Hernandez.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This completist sucker is going to be getting that one.
And then a couple of others that I'd like to mention that I'm interested in is Anders Nilsson's Tongues #1. So if this is #1 in 48 pages, I guess this is another publisher that's coming out like an indie publisher with a comic book series. So that's always nice to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we see Anders Nilsson in all kinds of, anthologies and good work.
Right.
So this is good too.
And then beside that, Mark Palm's The Fang Volume 1. This looks interesting. Vampirism, lycanthropy, assassination, witchcrafts, marijuana, and perversion.
So there you go. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 60 pages, first volume. It's interesting that, 60 pages makes it into volume 1, but 48 pages next to it at Tongues #1 makes it issue 1. It's like the thin line between these.
Go figure.
Yeah, go figure. Yeah, but always Fantagraphics has good stuff, and I just appreciate that Fantagraphics has always been really kind and responsive to giving us the opportunity to review their things. It's just work that always is worth thinking about. We kind of skimmed over it quickly, but this Roly Poly book by Daniel Semanas is they show us a page of the art, which is really great because it's got this like interesting K-pop and American pop art mix. So just, every time you look at this 2-page spread of Fantagraphics offerings, you just get a sense that they are steeped in great comics history, aware of things that are around the world, the different notes and styles. And it's just, it's really good comics. Yep.
on the following page, and this is in the second section on 314, I'm really excited that we now have the third volume of the Delilah Dirk series coming out.
Yes.
This is Delilah Dirk and the Pillars of Hercules.
Yes. Yeah. Tony Cliff's first two volumes of Delilah Dirk were phenomenal.
Yeah.
And this one, likely to be same. So,
yeah. So, when that second volume, and I think that was the Delilah Dirk and the King Shilling came out, Gwen and I talked with him on the show.
Yep. Yeah. People should check out that interview. I really enjoyed that conversation. But he's got just phenomenal animator type chops and good, really fun stories. Yeah. Yeah, and then also in first second, we have a friend of the podcast as well, Andy Hirsch's Science Comics Trees. Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, this is on page 316, and Andy Hirsch did last year Science Comics Dogs. Now, first and foremost, their Science Comics series, first, second Science Comics series is really good. And it doesn't dumb down the material. In fact, there were a lot of things that Gwen and I were challenged about. And Andy at the time told me that he had actually a couple coming out. The only one I could say that he told me is the Science Comics Trees.
Yeah.
And he has a really nice style. It is, without being cartoony, it's very approachable.
Right.
And it's very animated, I think you could say.
Yeah, we now have enough of these volumes that, I used to take my kid to like the science museums around here, and in the gift shop, it used to be like, oh, you could find one or two of these science comics. That's kind of fun. Now there's like a whole row, of the various. And so thinking about the sort of educational or curiosity benefits, the sort of science learning benefits for kids, these are really making a mark. And, 3 cheers to first second for doing that.
Hear, hear.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have anything until 325.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm scrolling. Sorry. 325 is where I go next too.
Yeah. Now, well, what are you going to highlight?
Humanoids. The Victor and Clint is what I was looking at.
Yeah, I thought you might.
Victor and Clint is a kid-friendly book by Marion Duclos. And, it's Humanoids Kids, and, Humanoids Kids has been doing, now a steady stream of good kid comic imports from Europe. As we mentioned earlier, these titles coming to us from Europe now. But, it looks fun. It looks like Western comics. So,
and then right beside that is, I was going to highlight that, but right beside, Victor and Clint is something from Hermes Press, and this is Nukem. Classic Cold War comics celebrating the end of the world.
Yeah. One of those collections that seems interesting. Yeah. Weird though. It seems like it, doesn't name very many people who are involved in it, or any people, but, issues of Atomic War and, World War III and titles like that from that era. Yeah.
I want to go next to the Lion Forge section.
It looks like I have I have a drop off at 3:30.
Okay.
Learner books. Again, art, an all ages targeted book, but it's Mari Naomi's Life on Earth Volume 1, Losing the Girl. And I'm just interested in this by virtue of Mari Naomi's, past work, not previously stuff that's targeted at kids. So
yeah, in fact, if anything, almost the opposite. I'm glad that you mentioned this because I completely overlooked that.
Oh, yeah. I'm not, don't know too much about Learner's comics publishing, but here we are with this. And
I love Mary Naomi's work.
Yeah. She's really cool. I had a chance to meet her in person a few years back. Super, super nice, and very introspective work in her usual stuff, but now doing some kind of kids comics. So looks good.
Well, in the Lion Forge section, one of the things I think we mentioned either last month or the month before was the fact that there's just so much material coming out from Lion Forge. We don't have time to mention it all.
Yeah, that's right.
What really caught your attention in Lion Forge?
Well, the first thing they feature is from their Clubhouse line. And I said at the top, we do have a lot of like kids comics and young ages comics. And I wonder if that's a trend. I'll keep watching for that. Yeah. But, things that are as relevant for our YR show as anything else. But, this is Sheets.
That looks really good. Yeah.
Yeah. On page 332, by a creator, named Brenna Thumler, which Previews features an interview with Thumler on the following page. Yeah. Which is nice. And it's kind of somewhere between ghosts and laundry. So, Marjorie, the main character, doesn't like doing laundry, but, there is this sort of ghost. I'm reminded of a sort of like Inio Asano's, that sort of, just two circles making a face, but I think it's the ghost has a presence in this 13-year-old's life, who has to do laundry, and as a kind of reflection, as a kind of metaphorical reflection of life at that stage and age. 240 pages, looks good.
Now, after that interview, there is something I wanted to ask you about, and this is Love Letters to Jane's World. It says the quintessential Jane's World collection. This is by Paige Braddock. I don't know about this. Do you know about? I guess this is a series. Is it something online? Strip. It's comic strip format.
It is. Yeah.
A young lesbian woman making her clumsy way in the world with friends who help or hinder her along the journey.
Yeah, I want to say that I've seen Paige Braddock and Jane's World, but I don't know where. Maybe it's on Go Comics or some other place where
We have a pretty good sampling on that next page, 336.
Yeah. Gets high praise from, people we like Terry Moore and, Shannon Waters and, of Lumberjanes. So this has got a good sort of pedigree of recommendations. It was nominated for an Eisner for the syndicated comic strip, and features, it says that it was the first, syndicated comic strip with a lesbian main character in a lot of newspaper markets. And so, it was a breakthrough in that sense. And, I'm looking forward to this. I marked this as well as a chance to catch up on something I didn't know about. Yep.
Do you have anything else in line, Forge?
Yes. Just a brief mention at 347, the third volume of the Little Piero series is there. So they just list all three of them. But, I saw the first one, and it's again a kid's book. It's fun, and it's just beautiful painting. So if you're just interested in comics art, it's comics art, not to mention have kids to read it to. That's a good one. But after that, I don't have anything till 350.
Me too. And I'm
pretty
sure we're choosing the same thing.
That's right. Yeah.
The Provocative Colette.
Do you want to talk about the Provocative Colette?
No. I think that's the one new one coming out from NBM, unless I'm mistaken.
Sure.
But it's the publisher before that, Metropolitan Books, The Arab of the Future, Volume 3, 1985 through 1987. And this is by Raid Setouf.
Yeah.
And, I'm ashamed to say I have the first two volumes of Arab of the Future, but I haven't read them yet. They just kind of sit in a pile. And Pascal and I were talking just yesterday about when this comes out in August, either for the August or September Eurocomics episode or series, is to discuss all three of these volumes that are out at the time.
Yeah, let me give that a bump. I would love to hear you two talking about Setouf's work, and it's autobiographical about his upbringing as a, I'm going to botch this, but Libya maybe is where his father's from, and French mother, and so they moved around in various places. Yeah, and I've read the first two volumes of Arab of the Future, and it's delightful. I mean, it's a the way that you can view world events that you only have a vague knowledge of through a specifically like a kid's upbringing in between those worlds. And, by virtue of his family background, he has a chance to see various parts of the world that, I'm pretty ignorant about, and to show the sort of like daily life growing up as a kid. And I love that about this book. So well worth your time. Yeah.
On that next page, 351, we have under New York Review Comics, which always does incredible stuff. Tadeo Tsuge's Slum Wolf.
Yeah.
I can't help but think, is this a resolicit? Have we seen this solicited in the previous?
It is a resolicit, but I haven't seen the book out, so I don't know if it's,
Well, this is something that I do have a copy of already from New York Review Books. Apparently, they prepare things well in advance. And Shay and I are going to discuss this on an upcoming manga episode.
Oh, awesome. Great. Can't wait to hear that. And so we've been going on and on about New York Review bringing us stuff that we didn't know about that we're so glad that they did. So, that's good stuff.
And then after that, we have the Oni Press section.
Actually, briefly, No Brow has a Hamish Steele series on the page before, right under the New York Review Books. On 351, it's Dead Endia Volume 1, The Watcher's Test. And Hamish Steele did Pantheon a couple of years ago, which I really liked, sort of a retelling of the story of various gods. And this one is actually looks like it's for kids. Doesn't say that specifically, but people who work at a theme park battling demons and ghosts and stuff like that. So that looks kind of fun. But yeah, then the next page, 352, we get a splash of Oni. And we get, the featured item is Aquacorn Cove. Can I talk on this one a little bit?
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
You're just the co-host for a pretty face.
Derek, you're so funny. Pretty face is not what I can offer the world. But Aquacorn Cove is by Katie O'Neill, and Gwen and I had the privilege of talking about the Tea Dragon Society by Katie O'Neill. First circulated as a webcomic and then collected in that book, which was nominated for an Eisner. Actually, 2 different Eisners. I don't remember. Did you talk? You did talk about Tea Dragon Society.
Yeah,
right?
on last month's webcomics episode, Sean and I discussed it because we looked at all of the nominees under the webcomics category. Yeah,
that's right. And so this is Katie O'Neill, and she kind of brings her same style, which actually I think her style has been really, really good, but it seems like from these preview pages, it just keeps getting better. She's sort of honing the craft and the appeal of what she does with her very, sort of like lineless, color work and, with really, really, savvy palettes. But, Aquacorn Cove is a graphic novel that is, 96 pages and, similar elements as Tea Dragon Society. There's a dragon unicorn looking creature with a girl riding on it. So it's, if people know Tea Dragon Society, we've talked about it now a couple of times, similar vein. And, I think this one might be a fun one for my daughter and I to read together.
Huh. Do you have anything else in Oni?
I don't think so. Where do you go?
I go to page 358.
Okay, let's do that. Oh, yeah. No, of course. Yeah.
And this looks exciting. It's under the younger reader section, I guess, because it says it's kid friendly. Banana Sunday. And what drew me to this was the creators, Paul Tobin and Colleen Coover. And of course, they're the ones who do Bandette.
Yeah. As well as more adult fare. But this is not that adult fare. This looks like there's a monkey and some
and you
teenage
can't
girls.
lose with a monkey.
Monkey's a way into my heart. So yeah, it does look fun. It does look good. It's it says Kirby Steinberg is having a bit of trouble fitting into her new school. Sure, there's usual problems, but there's this time the new kid also happens to be the guardian for 3 talking primates. That's always hard, when you have to deal with middle school and you are guardian for 3 talking primates. But I'm sure that a lot of people can relate to that experience. So yeah, it's fun.
Well, there's some that I was just going to mention in passing, but we need to move on because we've tried to limit ourselves this time around.
We know listeners actually enjoy, we gotten some good feedback that listeners do enjoy the lengthier previous episodes. Just for my life reasons this weekend, I do happen to have to go. So, let's briefly mention, let's fire off some of the things that you wanted to mention in passing. I'll do the same.
Well, one thing that I will mention is on page 375, and let me get there, is
it the Silver Sprocket stuff?
Yeah, it's under the Silver Sprocket.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, what
happens when I use a PDF?
No worries. I'll start and you can jump in. How's that?
Okay.
Liz Prince's Be Your Own Backing Band, graphic novel, full color edition. And, Liz Prince and her sort of like awesome punk rock vibe is, this is her old stuff, but now with full color. And I really like Liz Prince's work. Man, it's just great. It's 64 pages, and that looks fun.
Yeah. So, that's what I was going to mention. And I only have 2 more items in the regular section and then only 1 more in the manga section. Do you have anything? And my first one of the 2 that I mentioned is on page 382. And this is in Titan. And this is the Prague Coup. This is by Jean-Luc Fromental writing that, and then Miles Hyman doing the art. It looks interesting. Titan's been doing a lot of this, taking, I'm assuming, the European material and bringing it over here.
Right.
In this hard case crime series. And I do like the hard case crime series.
Yeah. Yeah. And the main character of this series is Graham Greene.
I know. That's another draw.
Right.
And it says inspired by the story behind Orson Welles' The Third Man. So it's inspired by something behind something else. Right. But another reason this caught my attention is just recently I finished watching all of the Berlin Babylon series on Netflix. And this has that similar feel, although with interesting twists. Yeah.
This looks interesting. I like Titan as a publisher. I'm not a big Dragon Tattoo or Doctor Who person, but I know that those are actually fans of that stuff. I have enjoyed these comics, and other things they're doing really cool as well. In fact, I have a Titan pick at 387. I don't know if that's something you're going to mention.
That's my other one.
Yeah. This is titled. The title of this is Emma G. Wildford. Written by Zidro. An artist, his name is Ethan, Edith. I think it's really funny that the title of the book is somebody's full name, but the writer and artist are both single named.
I know, that fooled me at first.
So Emma G. Wildford is the name of the book, and it was shortlisted for an Angle M prize. But man, it looks good. It's just when you can make the cover a woman sitting at a desk writing in a journal with a pile of books next to her, can you make a cover like that look as beautiful and appealing as this is, you've done, artistic work. So it's a throwback to the Roaring 20s, and there's mystery, grand adventure, and love, as it says. It's kind of sort of it says Gatsby era globe-trotting search for her missing fiance. So it looks interesting.
Yeah. Now, do you have anything before the manga section? Anything else? Okay.
No.
I've only got 1 item in the manga section. Do you have any?
I searched. I genuinely looked, and I didn't come to anything. So I'm curious what you picked. Yeah,
this one is on page 425, and this is in the Viz Media section. It is That Blue Sky Feeling, and the story is by Okura with art by Komahashi. It says, outgoing high school student Nishiro finds himself drawn to Sanada, the class outcast who is rumored to be gay. Rather than deter Nishiro, the rumor makes him even more determined to get close to Sanada, setting in motion a bittersweet tale of first love. So this looks interesting, but I have to be honest. With manga, it's like I always ask myself, do I want to start a new series?
Yeah. It is definitely that is the question I always ask, but that's, I think, what we search for. And I do have a little bit of envy when I'm flipping through these pages and Viz is publishing volume 5 of The Promised Neverland. And I thought, I should have kept up with that in Weekly Shonen Jump or whatever. So, I know that I, for one, and maybe other listeners are always searching for a good, intriguing manga series. And coming of age and queer romance stories are, I think, really important and really appealing to a lot of readers, and this might be that for them. So this does look good. I like the art that they feature here of that sky blue feeling.
Yeah.
So it might be really interesting.
And there we have it, a wrap-up of the June Previews catalog. We hope that you enjoyed our romp through all of those solicits.
And sorry that I had to be a little faster than usual. Hope folks still got a lot out of our flipping through these pages and talking about these. I do note that this is the sort of the back matter of previews in this episode. It's Kids Comics Month. Hilariously, on page 447, the headline, Kids Comics Month, leaves out the letter I in the word comics. So there's maybe a proofreading thing that...
Is it a proofreading, or are they trying to be wacky like kids sometimes are when it comes to their own spelling?
We're going to leave I out of this. But anyway, they interview a bunch of kids comics creators like Joey Weiser and Raymond Telgemeier and stuff like that. And, as we were talking through this catalog, there was just a lot of all ages and young reader targeted stuff. And I don't know, just for consideration, I read kids comics. There's a little bit of obligation in that because, I've mentioned a bajillion times, I'm a dad and an educator, but I also think just as an appreciator of comics work, comics art, and I'm all in on the D&Q and the Fantagraphics stuff. I just think we do well as readers and I'm not saying anybody does this, but to not limit ourselves when we see something that's targeted for kids and say, oh, well, I can't read that with any serious study. Or appreciate.
And an example of that is what we were mentioning just a moment ago, and that is the Tony Cliff.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Among many other things.
Yeah. The Lila Dirk series. So, so definitely this is our homework. The two guys with PhDs, we're saying this is our homework for you over the next several months. Read more child-oriented comics or all-age comics.
And send us your deep, also advanced degrees people. Send us your deep thoughts about them because it's, and Derek and I can talk about it. Gwen and I can talk about it. Derek will talk about it elsewhere. It'd be a nice conversation. Yeah.
Now you can be assured you can find all of the titles that we went over and many, many more at incredible discounts at Discount Comic Book Service. Please go to their website, dcbservice.com, and there you will find a slew of great prices. That's dcbservice.com. And after you do get your titles there, get in touch with us and let us know what you're going to be reading. If you go to our website, comicsalternative.com, you'll find that you could leave us a voice message online via SpeakPipe. Or you can call us the old-fashioned way by picking up the phone and dialing 4153-COMICS. That's 415-326-6427.
That's right. Another way that you can feed our hungry egos and our desperate need for feedback and correspondence is to email us. We are at 2guys@comicsalternative.com or individually Derek at comicsalternative.com and Paul at comicsalternative.com. We labor at this work because we love it and we care about you, and we always appreciate hearing from you. So do let us know what you've thought through any of these means, but email is great too.
That's right. You can also contact us via social media. We have accounts on Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram, Google+, Goodreads, Pinterest, Slack, Discord, and YouTube. You can subscribe to the podcast through Apple Podcasts. You can stream us on Stitcher. You can also find us on Spotify, on TuneIn, on iHeartRadio, and on Google Play Music. But you can find every one of our episodes, as well as the reviews and comics-related commentary, on our blog at comicsalternative.com.
That's right. Thanks for listening and joining us for the ride. It's a good time.
Yeah, we'll be back next week with another episode, and of course next month for the next previews catalog. Mm-hmm. Until then, I'm Derek.
And I'm Paul. Stay tuned.
What happened?